Good morning all. In the last class, we discussed about East India Company. Mainly, we are not bothered about the history, we understood about law point of view. So 1773, 1781, 1784, 1793, 1813, 1833, 1853, 1858, then Indian Councils Act, 1861, 1892. So this is most important legislations. 1909, 1919, 1935. Compulsory one question from these three legislations. Before this we don't know, but from this 1909, 1919, 1935, there is 100% chance of 1909. So last class, Indian Councils Act. In Indian Councils Act we have 1861, 1892 and the third one is 1909. What is this Indian Councils Act? Councils Act means addition of non-officials or Indians into legislative councils. Addition of non-officials or Indians into legislative councils is Indian Councils Act. Addition started by 1861, more additions happened by 1892 by a law, and 1909 also discussed about more addition. The number of Indians into the legislative councils of centre as well as provinces. Centre as well as provinces. The number of Indians addition into the central legislative councils and provincial legislative councils should be more. So Indian Councils Act means we have to understand the addition of Indians or addition of non-officials into councils, legislative councils. 1909, Minto-Morley reforms or Morley-Minto reforms. This Morley is Secretary of State. This Morley is Secretary of State. This Minto is Viceroy, Lord Viceroy. What is the background for this? Morley-Minto reforms or Minto-Morley reforms of 1909, which is called as Indian Councils Act of 1909. In the British Parliament, I told you Secretary of State will be staying in Britain. He is one of the member of Parliament. That member of Parliament will be getting the post called as Secretary of State. He will be getting the post called as Secretary of State. So this Morley in 1906, he delivered a speech in the Parliament and told that there is a need for addition of more Indians into the legislative councils of British India. So he is the first person who proposed in 1906 that if we want to provide more good government, if we want to provide more good governance, if we want to provide more responsible government, the only solution is add them into the legislative council. So they will have a we feeling. We are present in lawmaking bodies. We are also part of lawmaking bodies. So in 1906, this Morley, a member of Parliament of British Parliament, who is acting like Secretary of State, he recommended to the British Parliament that there is a necessity to add Indians into legislative councils. This is the background. On this, the discussion happened in 1906, 1907 and 1908, they came to a conclusion, and in 1909 in British Parliament, they made a law called as Indian Councils Act of 1909. And this law told that Indians will be added more. In that time period, what happened from 1906 to 1909, correspondence happened between Minto and Morley. How many members we have to add, whether it's the right time to add. Why? Because extremists are increasing. Moderates are also becoming extremists. There is two people, extremists and moderates. In Indian freedom struggle, two types of people are there, two types of freedom fighters are there. One are extremists, other is moderates. Extremists, like terrorists. Not terrorists, extremists means radical. Radical. According to British, they are terrorists. According to British, they are terrorists. According to Indians, they are radicals. These radicals, by violence, they want to control the British. Moderates believe that no violence. By letters, by petitions, by requesting, we have to get the constitutional reforms. We have to get the constitutional reforms. That is the wish of moderates. Extremists, no, why we have to request? That is our demand. Who these people are? They are not our Indians. Those are extremists. So the number of people are converting to extremists are increasing. So this Minto, the Viceroy, had recommended morally, yes, what you are telling is correct. Why? Because the extremists are increasing in India, and the moderates are losing confidence on British. So we have to imbibe confidence among the moderates. So we have to bring some constitutional reforms. One of the best constitutional reforms is addition of Indians into legislative councils. So because of this backdrop, because of the moderate extremist issue, 1909 Indian Councils Act came into existence. So two backdrops are there. In 1906, in order to have a responsible government, morally told in the British Parliament to add Indians. Number two, there is a moderates are losing confidence and extremists are becoming popular. When extremists are becoming popular, the number of moderates will come down and the number of extremists will increase. When number of extremists are increasing, there is a problem, law and order problem for British. So in order to increase the number of moderates, they have to do constitutional reforms. What is the constitutional reforms? Addition of more Indians into legislative. Morley, Secretary of State, Minto, Viceroy. Features of Act of 1909, which is called as Morley-Minto reforms. Morley-Minto reforms. What are the provisions in this? Indian Councils Act of 1909, which is a step towards including Indians into government, means very important. So it believed that it is not only addition of Indians into legislative councils, but also we have to add Indians into executive councils. So up to now it is only the addition of Indians into legislative councils in law making body, but now onwards they should also become part of the government. So two things were being done under 1909. Number one is legislative councils number has been increased. Number two, Indians are added into the Executive Council. First such member or first such Indian name is called as S.P. Sinha. Then who is this Raja of Banaras? Who is this another people, last three people who added to the legislative? They are added to Legislative Council but not to Executive Council. Now to the Executive Council, one member added, his name is called as S.P. Sinha. So addition of Indians into legislative councils and addition of Indians into executive councils also. This is what which is different from 1892 and 1861. In 1861, addition of Indians into legislative councils. 1892, addition of Indians into legislative councils. 1909, more addition of Indians into legislative councils plus addition of Indians into executive council. Very, very important. It considerably increases the size of central and provincial legislative councils. Central legislative councils members raised from 16 to 60. Central legislative councils numbers increased from 16 to 60. 16 to 60. Central Legislative Council retained official majority but allowed provincial members to have non-official majority. Very, very important, prelims point of view. So, the addition of number of Indians into legislative councils has been increased. In that particular trend, Central Legislative Council, which majority is there? In Central Legislative Council, which majority is maintained in spite of addition of Indians? Official majority is there. But in Provincial Legislative Council, whose majority is maintained? Non-official. Means in Provincial Legislative Councils, Indian numbers are more, whereas Central Legislative Council, whose number is more? Official members. Official members is very important division. So again I am repeating, see, it should fix in your mind. Morley-Minto reforms 1909 or Indian Councils Act of 1909, number one, more addition of Indians into legislative councils as well as executive councils. Number one, the central legislative councils numbers has been increased from 16 to 60. But however, official majority is maintained in CPC, Central Legislative Council, CLC, whereas non-official majority is maintained in PLC, Provincial Legislative Councils. Provinces means states. Today's states, earlier called as provinces. Abolish the official majorities of provincial legislative. So in provincials, who are majority now? Non-officials. In central legislative councils, who are majority now? Officials. Why? Because if I get the confidence at the grassroots level, the government will be stable. So in order to get the confidence in the grassroots level, I added more Indians into Provincial Legislative Council. But from central level, when I am making the law should be according to the British wish. So in Central Legislative Council, whose majority is maintained? 1909, 1919, no confusion. Number 1, more Indians added to the legislative councils. Legislative councils, more Indians added, as well as Indians added to executive councils also. Central Legislative Council number increased from 16 to 60. But however, official majority is maintained in Central Legislative Council. And non-official majority is maintained in Provincial Legislative Council. Provided for associating Indians with executive councils of Viceroy and governors. Sachendra Prasad, the first Indian joining Viceroy's Executive Council as a law member. SP Sinha. SP Sinha. Sachendra Prasad Sinha. SP Sinha. Sachendra Prasad Sinha. Why I told SP Sinha? Because once they asked about SP Sinha. In Lakshmikant book it is written Sachendra Prasad. Sir, I read Sachendra Prasad but I didn't read SP Sinha. Sachendra Prasad Sinha. Accepting, most important, another important point is accepting separate electorate for Muslims. This is the first official step by the British for divide and rule. Accepting separate electorate introduced communal representation for Muslims. Muslim members are elected only by Muslim voters, leading to legalized communalism. So Muslim member will be contesting the elections, only Muslim will be standing for the elections. Who will decide? Majority. In that province, whose majority is there, that majority person will stand for elections. If Muslims majorities are there, in that constituency, that Muslim person will be standing and only Muslims will be voting for that person. That is called as legalized communalism or separate electorate, which is official division of people. Because of this, the Viceroy, Lord Minto, is called as father of communal electorate. Called as father of communal electorate. See, quick revision. Morley Minto reforms introduced separate electorates to Muslims. British rule of divide and rule. SP Sinha taken into Executive Council of Viceroy. Sachendra Prasad Sinha. 1909 British proposal mainly reforms in structure of India, government of India. Main aim, appeasing moderates. You don't become extremist. Moderate, you are good people, you are not fighting, you are not doing any violence, you are not shouting at us, you are important for us. What you want? You want constitutional reforms? No, these are the constitutional reforms. Mainly to appease moderates. Prelims point of view. What is the ambition of 1909 government of India? Appeasement of moderates. Number 2, division of people. Divide and rule. Second, moderates welcomed reforms but was against separate electorates based on religion. These are the major points of 1909 government of India. Mind map. So what is the mind map of 1909? Number 1, appeasement policy for moderates. Number 2, addition of Indians into Executive Council. Increased official majority in Central Legislative Council but increased non-official majority in Provincial Legislative Council. The such Executive Council member is SP Sinha. These are the main points of 1909 Indian Councils Act, not Government of India. But 1919 is called as Government of India Act of 1919. Means whole reform, complete constitutional reform. Whereas 1909 is only reforming councils. Only reforming councils. All the points are with respect to councils only. There is no question of Public Service Commission or there is no question of constitution. It's only about reforming councils. That is the reason it is called as Indian Councils Act. But Government of India, what is the difference between these words, terms? When we use the word Indian Councils Act, it is reforming councils. When I am using Government of India Act, it is reforming complete structure. It's constitutional reforms. With the reforms made in 1909, moderates are unhappy. You people just did reforms in councils. We want more. We want more constitutional reforms. We want more constitutional reforms. Hence, the Government of India Act came into existence, which is called as 1919. So, what is the background for this is, after 1909, moderates are unhappy. The ambition of the 1909 is appeasement of moderates, but the moderates are unhappy now. The purpose has been not served. Why? Because moderates are unhappy. Moderates are demanding now for constitutional reform. Moderates are demanding for constitutional reform, not just reforms in councils. So, what is this Government of India Act reforms? What are these constitutional reforms? This Montego is called as Secretary of State. Chelmsford is called as Viceroy. So, this Secretary and this Viceroy. This Secretary and this Viceroy. Montego is the Secretary of State. Chelmsford is Viceroy. Government of India Act of 1919, Montego, Chelmsford reforms. What are the major reforms in this? So, not just the legislative council's reforms, overall reform of constitution, overall reform of functioning of British India. That is the reason Government of India Act of 1919, that is the reason Government of India Act of 1858, that is the reason Government of India Act of 1935. Why? Because it had reformed completely. Not one part like councils. It relaxed central control by demarcating and separating central and provincial subjects, authorizing law legislation powers to respective list of subjects. Means they demarcated. These are central list, these are provincial list. For the first time, division of subjects. These are all the central list, means names will be given. Defense, communication, post and telegraphs, railways. These all are central list. These all provincial list. Agriculture, irrigation, water supply. These all are provincial list. Now, provincial governor and provincial governor's executive council and provincial legislative council will be having the powers to make laws on this subjects, provincial subjects. Central Viceroy's executive council and central legislative council will be having the power to reform the subjects, the list of subjects which are present in central list. For the first time, the division of subjects happened in 1919. Only two subjects, one is central list, other is provincial list. One is central list, other is provincial list. So, it relaxed the central control and it demarcated the list of central and list of provinces. So, the subjects which are present in central list will be made law by the center. The subjects which are present in provincial list will be made by provincial governments. Separated provincial budget from central budget and enabled provincial legislature to enact their budgets again. That means what? Till 1919, one budget was being made at the central level and that budget is also used to allocate to provinces. But not only provincial list and central list got separated, the budget also got separated by 1919. In 1919 Act, what they did, they separated the list of making laws into central list and provincial list. Number two, the budgets also separated into central budget and provincial budget. 2 points. This is very confusing. Remembering, how we can remember means with some shortcuts only we can remember. So, in 1909, Morley Mentor reforms, mainly Indian councils, only councils were being reformed. What are the points? First, Indians were being added not only the central legislative council but also to the central executive council. Number two, the number of Indians added to central legislative council as well as provincial legislative councils. Number three, the number of central legislative councils has been increased from 16 to 60. Next what? SP Sinha is the first member into the executive council. Next, separate electorate. Means if he is running, he is becoming the member of legislative council. So, that is also part of councils. Separate electorate for Muslims. These are the 5 points. These are the 5 points. These 5 points are dealing towards councils only. So, if any time if you come across 1909, you have to remember in your mind that this 1909 is mainly reforming councils. If any point, if it is talking with respect to IAS, IPS or or establishment of Public Service Commission. No, no. Why? Because Act is for councils. So everything, all the reforms are with respect to councils only. Whereas 1919 is not with respect to councils, a holistic reform. First such a reform is division of subjects into central list and provincial list. Number 2, division of budget into central budget and provincial budget. Two things we understood. List of subjects, budget. First point and second point. Provincial subjects were divided into two parts. Provinces. Provincial subjects. So, two subjects are divided. One is central list, other is provincial list. Again provincial list subjects are again divided into two, which is called as transferred subjects and reserved subjects. Only at the level of provinces, not at the level of center. 1919 means central list, central government. Provincial list, provincial government. Again in provincial list, again it divided into two lists. One are called a transfer list, other is called as reserve list. What is transfer list? Transfer list means the laws made by the Indians. Means who is majority is there in Provincial Legislative Council? Indians. Non-officials. So in Provincial Legislative Council, they are making laws with respect to transferred subjects. Transferred. Reserved means only few people should do. So this reserved subjects who will be doing? Provincial governor and his executive council. Provincial governor and his executive council. Why? Because governor is Britisher. Reserved means defense. Reserved means police. Reserved means law and order. Such type of things should be done by Indians or such type of things should be done by British. Why? Because they want to control. If they want to control, first they have to control law and order. If law and order is there in our control, everything is under control. So compulsory it will be a reserved subjects. Under whom? Governor. So provincial list again divided into transferred subject and reserved subject. Transferred, it got transferred to whom? To Provincial Legislative Council, who will be making the laws, as Indians are majority in number. So Indians all will be making the laws. No problem. What would be there? Agriculture, water, drainage, electricity, such sort of insignificant subjects will be there. But law and order, police, defense, communications, those should be controlled by whom? British. If not, what will happen? British will lose its power. So that will be under reserved. So who will be making the laws? The vice, the governor. For provinces, governor. Provincial subjects were divided into two parts. Diarchy as two. It is the concept is called as diarchy, and divided into two: transfer subjects and reserve subjects. Transfer subjects responsible to Legislative Council. Provincial Legislative Council or Central Legislative Council? Provincial Legislative Council. Why? Because provincial subjects. And reserved subjects without responsibility. Without responsibility means what? Governor. Without the involvement of Provincial Legislative Councils, the laws are made means who will make? Governor. Governor and Governor Executive Council. So first, it divided into provincial list and central list. Divided central budget and provincial budget. Third, provincial list is divided into transfer subject and reserve subject. This concept of division into transferred and reserved is called as diarchy. It's called as diarchy. So 1919 Government of India Act, diarchy is in central or state? Central or provinces? Provinces. 1919 Morley, Montego, Chelmsford reforms had asked for diarchy in provinces or center? Provinces. In provinces. Thus diarchy was introduced, but it was unsuccessful, but it was not implemented properly. But it is there. We are bothered only about the provisions. It is there, but it got not implemented. Why? Because province is not accepted. Why not accepted? Governor told. No, we cannot give transfer subjects to provincial legislative councils. We want to have the control. Anyone, if I am a ruler, I want to have more control. No, why I will give to local people? That should also be in my control only. So the governors didn't accept it. So the diarchy was not successful in provinces. First, central list, provincial list. Central budget, provincial budget. Next, provincial list is divided into transfer list, reserve list. Thus, diarchy was introduced but was not successful. Why? Because it was not implemented. Bicameralism and direct elections were introduced, replacing Indian Legislative Council. Bicameral legislature consisting an upper house, which is called as Council of State, and a lower house, which is called as Legislative Assembly. Bicameralism and direct elections were introduced, replacing Indian Legislative Council. Up to now, only one house was been there, which is called as Central Legislative Council, which is also called as Indian Legislative Council. Now onwards, this Central Legislative Council is split into two houses. One house is called as Council of States, another house is called as Legislative Assembly. This Legislative Assembly will be directly elected people. This Legislative Assembly will be directly elected people, and this Council of State will be appointed from the provinces. So, not a provincial legislative council. Which legislative council got divided into two houses? Central Legislative Council. Central Legislative Council got divided into bicameral. So now the Central Legislative Council is not one house, but it is two houses. One house is called as upper house, another house is called as lower house. Upper house is called as Council of States, lower house is called as Legislative Assembly. Don't get confused. After independence, we gave the names Legislative Assembly to state. But in 1919, the Legislative Assembly is for center. Don't get confused. After independence, we gave the name Legislative Assembly for the state. Before independence, the Legislative Assembly name is there for Central Legislative Assembly. First point, 1919. First point, two lists, central list and provincial list. Second point, budget, central budget, state budget. Third point, provincial list is divided into transfer list and reserve list. Fourth point, Central Legislative Council got divided into two houses, upper house and lower house. If two houses, it is called as bicameralism. If two houses, it is called as bicameralism. One house, it is called as unicameral. Means I can tell like this also. In which act unicameral house became bicameral houses? 1990. Government of India Act of 1990. By which act unicameral house became bicameral house? That's it. From 1919 only, it became two houses, fixed. Required 3/6 Viceroy's executive members as Indians. It told that Viceroy's executive council. For the first time, executive council member should be Indian by 1909. And in 1919, they told that out of 6 Viceroy's executive council, 3 should be Indians. But one, in that 6 members, one will be commander in chief. But that commander in chief cannot be Indian. That compulsory should be a British. Why? Because he is head of all the defense forces. So head of all the defense forces should be compulsory British. So 6 members, Viceroy's executive council. In the 6 members, one member is commander in chief, other member is finance, other member is like education, like different members, different portfolios. So in these 6, compulsory 3 should be Indian. But Indian cannot be a commander in chief. So compulsory commander in chief should be a British. Extended communal representation. Communal representation was only for Muslims in 1909. Extended communal representation by providing separate electorate for Sikh, Indian Christians, Anglo-Indians, Europeans. 1909 only Muslims. 1919 Sikhs, Anglo-Indians, Indian Christians, Europeans. One person will contest from themselves. Only that person will vote for them. One person will contest from Anglo-Indians. Only Anglo-Indians will vote for. Obviously, they will vote for Anglo-Indians. Separate electorate system is extended by 1919, Montego, Chelmsford reforms. But franchise was given to limited people based on property, tax or education. Very important. Franchise means voting. What is franchise, sir? Franchise means voting. So now, up to now, the voting was being given only to jamindars, educated. Barristers and jamindars were been having voting rights. But now, apart from jamindars, apart from barristers, now the franchise has been extended to taxpayers. A threshold property was been fixed more than the property. The threshold property, they will be getting voting rights. So franchise has been elaborated based on property, based on tax, based on education. The franchise was given to limited people. You told direct elections, and direct elections, who is going to vote? Only the people who are having property, the only people who are going to pay the tax, the only people who are having limited education. But because before 1919, no elections happened. Elections started 1919. Why? Because bicameral house, legislative assembly. So now elections started. In that election, who is going to have the voter card? The people who are having the property, the people who are having the tax, the people who are having the education. Before that, no elections only, but jamindar nominated. People who are highly educated like SP Sinha, they got nominated. All nominated posters are there. But from 1919, election started, but the election franchise is given only to people who are having property, the people who are paying taxes, the people who are educated. Created a new office called as High Commissioner for India in London. High Commissioner for India in London, like a diplomat. A diplomat is called as High Commissioner for India in London. He will be in London, but he is a person who is agent of discussions, like diplomatic relations. All the diplomatic relations with India and British India and the British will be taken care by High Commissioner. Like a diplomat, like an Indian Foreign Service officer, there will be one High Commissioner who is located in London. He will be mainly discussing with respect to diplomatic affairs. It provided for establishment of Public Service Commission. Why Public Service Commission? Because constitutional reform, not just councils reform. It provided for Public Service Commission. Central Public Service Commission was set up in 1926. It provided for the appointment of a statutory commission to inquire and report its working after 10 years of its coming into force. So a commission will be constituted to study about how this constitutional reforms of 1919 has been implemented. This is about 1919 Government of India. Very quickly. First point. Lists are divided into central list and provincial list. Budget is divided into central budget and provincial budget. Number 3. Provincial list is divided into transfer subjects and reserve subject, which is called as diarchy. Next. Bicameralism. Central Legislative Council is divided into bicameral house. One is called as Council of States, other is called as Legislative Assembly. Next. Communal electorate got extended to 6 Indian Christians, Anglo-Indians, Europeans. Next. Franchise is limited to property holders, taxpayers and educated. Next. A High Commissioner for India in London. A new office came into existence which will be staying in London. Next. Central Public Service Commission got established in 1926. Any more? A statutory commission will be constituted to study about the implementation of 1919 within 10 years. Result is Simon Commission. Result is Simon Commissions. 9 points are there. 9 points. Why? Because after 1 year also you should not confuse. First point is central list, provincial list. Second is central budget, provincial budget. Third is transfer subject, reserve subject, which is called as diarchy, for which list? Provincial list. Fourth, bicameralism. Fifth, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 4. Fifth point, Viceroy. In Viceroy's Executive Council, 3 members should be compulsory Indians other than Commander-in-Chief. Which point? Fifth point. 6. Extended communal electorate. 7th, Limited Franchise. 8th, High Commissioner for India. 9th, Central Public Service Commission. 10th, so 10 points are there for. The source for this is not only Lakshmikant, D.D. Basu also. For me, I am taking the content, I took the content from D.D. Basu and Lakshmikant, 2 books. More content is from D.D. Basu. From beginning, when we were preparing D.D. Basu. Lakshmikant became popular in last 5 to 6 years. At the time, D.D. Basu was very high standard book. So 2 books, D.D. Basu and Lakshmikant. These are the 10 points which are present in both the books. Very quickly, 1909. Louder. Tell me. 1909. 1909. Very good. Increase Indians into Central Legislative Council as well as Central Executive Council also. In that way, the first person who became part of Central Executive Council is S.P. Sindhu. Next. 16 to 60, Central Legislative Council. 4th point. Non-official majority in Provincial Legislative Council, but official majority in Central Legislative Council. Next point. Separate electorate for Muslims. Next point. Any other point? 5 or how many? Numbers. You remember numbers at least. If you forgot also, if number is missing, you forgotten. Number 1, increase size of Central and Provincial Legislative Council. Number 2, it is 16 to 60, official majority. 3, associating Indians with Executive Council, introduced communal representation. 5 points. So 1909, 5 points. 1919, 10 points. 10 points. First point, Central list and Provincial list. Central budget, Provincial budget. Third, Provincial list is divided into reserved list and next. Very good, bicameralism. Central Legislative Council divided into 2 houses, Council of State and Legislative Assembly. 5th, Viceroy. 3 members are Indians and he should not be Commander-in-Chief. 6th point, extended communal electorate. For whom? 6, Anglo-Indians, Europeans. 7th, limited franchise. For whom? Property, taxpayers and education. 8th point, new High Commissioner for India in London. 8th point. 9th point, Central Public Service Commission. 10th is a statutory commission will be constituted after 10 years, which is called a Simon Commission, to study about the implementation of 1919 Government of India Act, whether the constitutional reforms which made in 1919 is sufficient or not. So 1909, 5, 1919, 10. How? 1909 only councils, 1919 constitutional reforms. So a statutory commission was being constituted, which is called as Simon Commission. So 1919 they told that within 10 years one statutory commission will be constituted, and that commission will study about the implementation of 1919 Government of India Act. And in 1927 the British had formed this Simon Commission with all British members. So all the Indian freedom fighters, Indian National Congress rejected Simon Commission because of absence of Indian. Not a single member is Indian. So they boycotted Simon Commission. That is the reason the slogan is Simon Go Back. 7-member statutory commission chaired by John Simon. Why? To report on conditions of India under new constitution. What is new constitution? 1919. This is only 1919. Implementation. Why boycotted? All members are British. 1930 submitted its report and made recommendations. On the recommendations of Simon Commission, there is a round table conference. To consider the proposals of the Commission, recommendations were incorporated in Government of India Act of 1935. Means the next Government of India Act of 1935, the backdrop is Simon Commission. And the Simon Commission had recommended that, there should be separate electorate for scheduled caste. That particular concept here is communal award. So the news came out that the British is ready to provide a separate electorate for scheduled caste. At that time, in Theravada jail in Pune, Mahatma Gandhi is in jail. And Ambedkar was also very happy because the scheduled castes are getting separate electorate. That means almost they divided from Hindu social system. Why? Because scheduled castes are part of Hindu social system. Then Mahatma Gandhi called upon B.R. Ambedkar, and the both had a discussion in Pune jail. In that jail, he discussed, Mahatma Gandhi discussed that if you people, it means if Ambedkar is going to accept separate electorate for scheduled caste, it is nothing but dividing India. Already India got divided into Hindus and Muslims. If you accept this, now Hindus will be divided into scheduled caste and non-scheduled caste. It is nothing but an example of divide and rule. There an agreement happened between B.R. Ambedkar and Mahatma Gandhi. That agreement is called as award. Award means a conclusion. Award means an understanding. Award means a MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. That award is called as Communal Award. Ramsay MacDonald, British Prime Minister, announced a scheme of minority representation extending separate electorate for depressed classes, means SCs. As a result of Gandhiji's fast at Pune jail, an agreement signed known as Pune Pact 1932, retaining Hindu joint electorate and gave reserved seats to depressed classes. We will reserve the seats for scheduled caste. You don't take separate electorate. So reserved seats were being given to depressed classes, and now it is Hindu joint electorate but not separate electorate. That particular pact is called as Communal Award or Pune Pact. Communal Award means not Muslims and Hindus. Why? Because communal is there. Communal means not Hindus and Muslims. Communal is Hindus and depressed classes. Between Ambedkar and Mahatma Gandhi. Communal Award, 1932. But however, British didn't stop. What they want to give, they gave in Government of India Act of 1935. Separate electorate were being given not only for SCs, they also divided families by giving separate electorate for men and women. So women also separated. How much possible is there? Women had been given separate electorate. Depressed classes were being given separate electorate. Business people were being given separate electorate. Like freebies, whoever you want pension, take, vote. What you want this, you take. Division for the sake of benefit of British. Government of India Act of 1935. The last constitutional reform of British India is Government of India Act of 1935. These all are constitutional reforms. These are constitutions for them. 1919 Constitution, 1858 Constitution, 1935 Constitution. Large number of reforms were being taken place in this 1935. One big reform is federation. One very big reform is All India Federation. What is this? I will tell you. Government of India Act of 1935, second milestone to responsible government and lengthy document, 321 sections and 12 schedules are present in this. In this main points only we will discuss. All the main points. Second milestone. First milestone? 1858. The first milestone is Government of India Act of 1858. Such big reforms again happened in 1935. So, second milestone is 1935, first milestone is 1858. Why? There also they used responsible government, here also they used responsible government. 1919 never we came across responsible government term. Means again they came with the idea called as responsible government. We are responsible to the local people. Provided for establishment of All India Federation. Dividing powers as 3 lists. So, what is the federation? Federation is nothing but division of lists, division of powers, division of subjects. Proper division of powers is called as federation. So, they divided power based upon the subjects. Federal list, provincial list, concurrent list. Sir, is it the first time? No. Already there is central list and provincial list. Which act? Again confusion. 1990. 1919 only lists came into existence, only 2 lists. 1935, 3 lists. All India Federation. Federal list means center. Provincial list means state. Concurrent list means both can make the laws. But the federation never came into existence because princely states did not join it. Why? Because the princely state told that we don't want to become part of British India, we want to become independent. So we are not going to follow this federal system. Why? Because in federation means what? Decentralized is provincial government, centralized is central government. We want to be independent, we want to stay independent. Why you people are bringing back into federation? We don't want to become part of federation. Why? Because my aspiration is to become independent. Yes or no? So princely states never participated, the implementation never happened. It abolished diarchy and introduced provincial autonomy. Diarchy means what? Transferred list and reserved list. Where? Province. Now what? This transfer list and reserved list is removed, everything became provincial autonomy. Provided for the adoption of diarchy at the center, dividing federal subjects into reserved and transferred. However, this provision also did not came into operation. Understand? You guess and tell me what would be provincial autonomy? Complete self-government implemented. Very good. More. Provincial autonomy. Yes. So provincial autonomy, now provincial is acting like a government, independent government, not governor. Now this, there is no reserved subject, there is no transfer subjects, everything is under the control of Provincial Legislative Council. Now everything is under the control of Provincial Legislative Council and the governor is just a signature. Two things. Governor, he can give a signature or he can send it to the Viceroy. But the Legislative Council at the state level is, province level is autonomous. They can make any law, irrespective of transfer subject, irrespective of reserves. Did you got? But the signature should be done by the governor. If he is happy, he will make the signature, or if not, he will reject, or if not, he will send it to the provincial autonomy. Means provincial legislative council is autonomous. Provincial legislative council is having the power to make the laws, irrespective of transfer list or reserve list. Why? Because diarchy came to an end. What is first point? Federation. For the first time, the federal system or All India Federation established, whereby there is a federal list, provincial list, concurrent list. Second point, abolition of diarchy at the provinces. In place of diarchy, there is a provincial autonomy. Third, the diarchy is established at center level. Diarchy is established at center level. Now there is transfer list and reserve list in center level, but it didn't came into operation. 3 points up to now. Three points we will remember. Number one is All India Federation. Federal list, provincial list, concurrent list. Second point, abolition of diarchy and provincial autonomy. Number 3, the diarchy shifted from provinces to center. Introduced bicameralism in 6 by 11 provinces with many restrictions. 1919 bicameralism only at center, not at provinces. But now onwards, bicameralism in out of 11 provinces, 6 provinces will be having bicameralism. 1919 bicameralism only for center. 1935 bicameralism will be in center, as well as out of 11 provinces, 6 provinces will be having bicameralism. So bicameralism is not just limited to center now. Now bicameralism houses, 2 houses are also present in provinces. Out of 11 provinces, 6 provinces are having separate electorate. They continued, irrespective of communal award, separate electorate for depressed classes. Within the family, women, husband one side, wife one side. Women and labor, business class separate, labor class separate. Separate electorate for depressed classes, women and labor. 1919, Sikh, Indian Christians, Anglo-Indians, Europeans. 1909, only Muslims. First point, All India Federation. What is All India Federation? Federalist, provincialist, concurrent list. Second point, abolition of diarchy at Provincial. No more diarchy. In place of diarchy, what came into existence? And now diarchy is present where? Central. Whether it is operational? No. Fourth point. See, provinces. Bicameralism not only at center but also in provinces, but not in all provinces. Out of 11 provinces only. Next. Separate electoral vote for depressed classes, women and labor. Extended franchise. 10% of the total population got the voting rights. 1919, property, taxpayers, educated. Now 10%. 10% of the population got voting rights. To control the currency and credit, it provided for the establishment of RBI. RBI came into existence. Provided for the establishment of not only Federal Public Service Commission, but also Provincial Public Service Commission and Joint Public Service Commission. 1919 only Federal Public Service Commission. 1935 Federal Public Service Commission, Provincial Public Service Commission and Joint Public Service Commission. Provided for establishment of Federal Court, set up in 1937. Federal Court means Supreme Court level, but the name is Federal Court. Tell me. First one, All India Federation. Number 2, abolition of diarchy but provincial autonomy. Number 3, adoption of diarchy at center. Number 4, bicameralism in provinces. Number 5, separate electoral vote for, yes. One more is abolishing the Council of India formed by Government of India Act. The secretary was provided with a team of advisors. Abolishing the Council of India formed by Government of India Act of the secretary was provided with a team of advisors. If you remember, in 1858 when Secretary of State was being formed, he is provided with 12 members. 15 members. They used to guide him, and these 15 members used to stay where? In India. They used to guide whom? Secretary of State. That 15 members body got deleted, and now a team of advisors for Secretary of State. It just advisors. A team of advisors came into existence. Then extended franchise provided for establishment of not only Federal Public Service Commission but Provincial Public Service Commission and Joint Public Service Commission and Federal Supreme Court. First one, All India Federation. Second, abolition of diarchy at provinces. In place of diarchy, provincial autonomy. Number 3, diarchy at center but not came into operation. Fourth, bicameralism not only in center but also in provinces, but not in all provinces. Out of 11 provinces, 6 provinces. Next, separate electoral vote for depressed classes, women and labor. Next, 10% franchise increased up to 10%. Next, establishment of RBI, establishment Federal Public Service Commission, Provincial Public Service Commission, Joint Public Service Commission, Federal Court. One more, abolition of Council of State, which is 15 members who were been recommending Secretary of State came into abolished, and in place of that a team of advisors were being recruited to advise Secretary of State. This is Government of India Act. How many are there? Again, number 1, All India Federation. Number 2, diarchy at state, at provinces got deleted. Number 3, diarchy at center. Number 4, bicameralism at provinces. Number 5, separate electoral vote. Number 6, 10% franchise. 7, RBA, Public Service Commission, Federal Court. 10, Secretary of State Council has been deleted. In place of that a team of advisors came into existence. So, Government of India Act of 1935 also how many provisions? 10 provisions. 1919 have 10 provisions. 1909 have 5 provisions. Finish. 5, 10, 10. Compulsory from this 1909, 1919, 1935. They will ask, like how they will ask Indus Valley Civilization, Jainism, Buddhism, one question. Similarly, 1909, 1919 or 1935. In this time period, one question or 2 questions, damn sure. Next, what happened? Independence. Independence. Indian Independence Act of 1947. February 20, 1947, British Prime Minister Clement Attlee declared that the British rule in India would end by June 30, 1948. June 30, 1948. Muslim League agitated and demanded partition of the country. June 3, 1947, Mountbatten put forth a partition plan which is called as Balkan Plan. In detail you will be reading in modern India. Partition plan or Balkan Plan, which was accepted by Congress and the Muslim League. What it told? It told Pakistan you can be divided, and any princely state you have three choices. You can stay with India, you can stay with Pakistan, or you can be independent. Balkan means division. The English meaning of Balkan is division. Mountbatten plan is called as partition plan or Balkan plan. Called for a division of the country into pieces. Called for a division of the country into pieces. Balkan plan. So, in that Balkan plan they decided in the month of June that yes, Pakistan can be liberated, and the Pakistan started liberated. So, they promised 1948. Then why they quickly gave by August 15, 1947 means huge genocide on the name of partition of India. Huge rapes, sexual assaults, deaths, murders, injuries were happening. So the British don't want to touch the blood. British want to escape from this bloodshed. British don't want to tie this bloodshed to them. If they leave, they can tell that we leave and these people are fighting. But if I am present and they are fighting, then everything will be on my head. If I am there and you are fighting, everyone will ask me as a teacher of the class what you are doing when they are fighting. If I am not there, you are fighting, then I can tell that I don't know, I am not there, no. Balkan Plan. So because of this Balkan Plan, the division of Pakistan and huge atrocities started happening, and they want to escape, and they started telling that we are going to give independence by August 15. Mountbatten put forth partition plan which was accepted by Congress and the Muslim League. Ended British rule in India and partitioned India into two dominions of India and Pakistan. What is dominion? Dominion is opposite to republic. Terms are very, very important. You write down some words. Dominion, republic. See, two concepts will be there. One is called as head of state, other is called as head of government. Head of state. India is state. India is state. Technically we call it state means not just Rashtra. State means country, a state. A politico-administrative region, politico-administrative territory is called as state. Head of the state means head of the territory is today president. First listen. For India today, head of the state is president. He is the head of the territory. She is the head of the territory. She is the first citizen of the territory. Head of the state. Head of the government is Prime Minister. He is a person who is the head of the administrative mechanism. He is a person who is running the complete system. He is Prime Minister, head of government and head of state. Dominion and republic. If head of state is another country person, it is called as dominion. Means at the time of independence, India was being called as dominion. We got independence, but the head of the state is crown, not Indian citizen. Crown. Republic means head of the state is Indian and elected. Head of the nation is Indian and elected is called as republic. If the head of the state is Indian but not elected, constitutional monarchy. Three words will be there. Three words. Dominion. Head of the state is not a citizen. Any country, this is concept for any country. Head of the state is not citizen. Dominion. Head of the country is citizen. Constitutional monarchy. Citizen. Constitutional head. Head of the state is elected and Indian republic. Head of the state is elected and citizen. Republic, any country, same concept. Today also Australia is dominion. Why? Because today also they believe the head of the state of Australia is British Crown. Australia is dominion today also. New Zealand is also dominion. But India is not dominion. Head of the state in India is Indian as well as, that is the reason India is called as a republic. So when we got independence, we are dominion. Head of independent India in 1947, who is the head of the state? British Crown. Till 1950. Till 1950, January 26th, we are dominion. From January 26, 1950, we are republic. Into two dominions, India and Pakistan. Both are dominions only. Pakistan also dominion only. Abolished the office of Viceroy and provided for each dominion a Governor General. Now there will be no Viceroy. I told you the meaning of Viceroy in 1858. Viceroy is an agent of British, then it is called as Viceroy. Now he is not agent of British. Why? Because British rule is collapsed. So now the term Viceroy has been removed and now the term is called as Governor General. Till the new government come into existence, the Governor General will be the head of the government. Who will be the head of the state? British Crown. Did you got it? So from 1947 to 1950, who is the head of the state? Who is the head of the government? Governor General. Abolished the office of Viceroy and provided for each dominion a Governor General. Empower the constituent assemblies to frame constitution and to repeal any act of British Parliament, including Indian Independence Act itself. So one constituent assembly will be there and that constituent assembly will be having the power to make the constitution. And once the constitution came into existence, when an independent government come into existence, when the parliament come into existence, they have the power to everything. They can also repeal Indian Independence Act also. They can frame their own Independence Act. Abolish Secretary of State for India and transferred his functions to the Secretary of State for Commonwealth Affairs. This is very important. There is one group called as Commonwealth Group, CWG. There is one international organization like UNO, BRICS, IPSA. There is one group called as CWG, Commonwealth Groups. What is this Commonwealth Groups? The countries once upon a time ruled by the British. The countries once upon a time ruled by the British. The countries once upon a time the colony of British. These all groups came together and formed an organization called as Commonwealth Group. So now the Secretary of State for India, now that post has been abolished and the powers of that post is given to Secretary of State for Commonwealth. So one Secretary of State will be there who is the Secretary of State for Commonwealth. This person just he will be looking into all the whether welfare is happening or not. Welfare is happening or not. Just because once upon a time you were being ruled by British. So just I will be looking whether everything is happening or not. Manchi chedulu chudam anamata. That's it, but I will not involve. So just I am saying, why? Because once upon a time, I ruled. Proclaimed the lapse of British paramountcy. Now British is not paramount, it got lapsed. Granted freedom to the Indian princely states, either to join India or Pakistan or to remain independent. This is what which empowered Nizam of Hyderabad. Whether to become part of India, to join Indian movement, or to become part of Pakistan, or to become part of independent in Hyderabad. So what the Nizam of Hyderabad chose? He chose to become Pakistan. But when the possibility of joining the Pakistan is impossible, then he told, I want independence. Then Vallabhbhai Patel and military action, Operation Polo. With that Operation Polo, the Nizam, the Hyderabad state was being controlled, taken by the Indian forces, September 17th, 1948. Why? Because of this point. Who gave the power to Nizam to ask for independence? This point of Indian Independence Act. What is that point? Granted freedom to Indian princely states. Nizam of Hyderabad is a princely state. Junagadh is a princely state. Kashmir is a princely state. So they got freedom. They granted freedom and told, you can join India, or you can join Pakistan, or you can also be independent. Kashmir told, after some time, we will join India. Junagadh with referendum joined India. These three princely states became a headache. Junagadh, Kashmir, Hyderabad. Kashmir by instrument of instruction. Instrument of instruction, instrument of accession, / what is that? A understanding between the central government and Kashmir kingdom, princely state. A proper understanding. What is that? We will have our own constitution, we will have our own residence, we will have our own freedom. Okay, fine. Kashmir became part of India. Instrument of accession or instrument of instruction? Instrument of accession with Kashmir. Number 2, Junagadh, referendum has been conducted. Opinion were being conducted by poll. Junagadh became part of India. Hyderabad became part of India. Hyderabad by police action. In this way, the complete integration happened. But why they dare to ask that we want independence? Because of this point. Governance by the Government of India Act of 1935 till the new constitution were been formed. So which constitution we will be following till the new constitution come into force? 1935 Government of India Act. Designated the Governor General of India and the provincial governors as the constitutional heads of the state. So the constitutional heads of the states are Governor General of India and the governors of states. At the stroke of midnight on 14-15 August, the British rule came to an end and power was transferred to the two new independent dominions of India and Pakistan. Jawaharlal Nehru, first Prime Minister of India, Mountbatten, first Governor General of new dominion India, Rajgopalachari, last Governor General. This. Why? Because 2 is 100% wrong. So this got eliminated. Devaluation of legislative authority by the center to the provinces. Devaluation of legislative authority by the center to the provinces. Think. Provincial list, federal list. They gave it to the federal. Federal gave it to the provincial list. Devaluation of legislative authority to the center to the provinces. There is a federal list, there is a provincial list. 1919, 1935, provincial list, federal list and concurrent list. But here I told devaluation of federal powers to provincial only. So both 1 and B, Viceroy, correct, Viceroy. Today also, residuary means which is not part of federal list, which is not part of provincial list, which is not part of concurrent list are called as residuary. Who is having the power today? Parliament is having the power. At the time, Parliament is not that much powerful. Viceroy is powerful. So, Viceroy. This is first point, no? D. All of the above. 10 points are there. In this, 3 are there here. Next. Go for elimination. Abolition of principle of communal representation. Abolition of diarchy in the governor's province, 1935. Yes. Power of the governor to veto legislative action and to legislate on their own. Power of the governor to veto legislative action and to legislate on their own. Why? Think. In provinces, diarchy got deleted. When diarchy got deleted, I told you, so there is the provincial legislative council became powerful, but however, governor can accept it, governor can reject it, or governor can send it to the viceroy. It is called as veto power only, no? 1 and 2. B. We didn't discuss, but however, instrument of instructions means directive principles of state policy. Contained in the Government of India Act have been incorporated in the Constitution of India in the year 1950. It is present in the 1935 also by the name called as instrument of instructions. What is this? It will give the directions to the government how to make the policy. It will make the instructions to the government how to make the policy is called as instrument of instructions. What is instrument? Paper is the instrument. On paper, they will written how the government should function, what are the policies, how the law should be there. Those all are written. That written format is called as instrument. Instrument of instructions. After constitution, the same instrument of instructions which is present in the 1935 Government of India Act, the name has been changed to Directive Principles of State Policy, means directions in the form of principles given to state in the formation of policies. Elimination. Now if you know this, your answer is completed. And what I have to check? 4 and 3 only. Tell me. Regulating Act of B is what? 4 or 3? C? C? D? C1. C? A. C? 3. The power to govern was transferred from East India Company to B. 4. Last. Which one of the following is not a feature of Government of India Act of 1935? A. A. Making of the Constitution, second unit. Making of the Constitution. So we came till independence. For the first time, who demanded that India should have a constitution, its own constitution? M. N. Roy. In 1934, M. N. Roy was the person who demanded for separate constitution. Then Indian National Congress also discussed about having a separate constitution. But the first person is M. N. Roy. Chronologically, we will discuss. 1934, M. N. Roy proposed the idea of Constituent Assembly for India, and this Constituent Assembly will make constitution. 1935, Indian National Congress officially demanded Constituent Assembly to frame the Constitution of India. So before Indian National Congress, M. N. Roy has asked, who is this M. N. Roy? Communist. Who is this M. N. Roy? Communist. So first it was a demand of the communists to have a constitution for India. Then 1938, Nehru on behalf of Indian National Congress declared that the constitution or Constitution of Free India must be framed without outside interference by a Constituent Assembly elected on the basis of adult franchise. This is the demand of Nehru, this is the demand of Indian National Congress, this is the demand of M. N. Roy. So first M. N. Roy, then Indian National Congress, then Nehru, 1938. Demand accepted in 1940, that is called as August offer. Demand accepted in August offer in 1940. Why? Why? Because there the environment is such that the world war is going to happen. In that August offer, they clearly mentioned that yes, we will form a Constituent Assembly, but you, Indian National Congress, you became powerful. You tell to the Indian soldiers to participate on behalf of British in World War II. Then after completion of World War II, immediately we will form a Constituent Assembly, and this Constituent Assembly will work for the formation of Constitution. Offer, they gave a offer. Then Sir Stafford Cripps, which is called a Cripps Mission, came to India with a draft proposal of the British government on framing of an independent constitution adopted after the World War II. The Cripps proposal were rejected by the Muslim League, and they told, it was just an offer by word of mouth. By word of mouth, it was an offer which was been told in the August offer, but in Cripps Mission of 1942, they told that they came up with a letter from the British Crown that there will be a Constituent Assembly will be formed, but after World War II. By the time you have to support British. By the time the soldiers Indian soldiers should work on the behalf of British. Finally, a cabinet mission was sent in 1946 to India, and Constituent Assembly was constituted in November 1946. 3 are there, very important. Chronologically, the questions will be chronologically. August offer 1940, Cripps Mission 1942, and Cabinet Mission Plan 1946. Why Cabinet Mission Plan? Because the members of the cabinet came to India and they gave permission, and they also constituted a Constituent Assembly. by the Constituent Assembly in November 1946, the Constituent Assembly came into existence, and this Constituent Assembly started working in the framing of Constitution of India. So it started by August Offer, then a written order was being given by Cripps, and final conclusion or formation of the Constituent Assembly happened after Cabinet Mission Plan. This Constituent Assembly is working for the framing of Constitution. First 1934, then 1935 INC, then 1938 Nehru, then 1940 August Offer, then 1942 Cripps Mission, 1946 Cabinet Mission Plan, and the Constituent Assembly came into existence. The main function of the Constituent Assembly is framing of the Constitution. Demand for Constituent Assembly. If there is Constituent Assembly, then there will be Constitution. Composition of the Constituent Assembly. So the Constituent Assembly came into existence. Facts. No concept, just facts, information, data. Total strength 389. 296 plus 93 is equal to 389. 296 British India, 93 princely states. British India, all the provinces which part of British India consists of British India, all the provinces. 292 from 11 governors provinces and 4 from chief commissioners provinces. 292 from 11 governors provinces and 4 from chief commissioner provinces. Chief commissioner provinces now are union territories. Chief commissioner provinces now are called as union territories. So how many members total? 296. 292 plus 4 members from provinces. British India, complete British India, 296. 93 from princely states. Seats to be allotted in proportion to their respective population, roughly 1 seat for every million population. For 10 lakhs people, 1 seat. That means what would be the population? The population would be 29 crore. That means the population would be somewhere around 29 crore. The representatives of each community selected by members of same community. Muslims by Muslims, Christians by Christians. Election method, proportional representation by single transferable vote. Proportional representation by single transferable vote. What is this proportional representation by single transferable vote? Is same for president, same for vice president, same for MLCs. With proper example, I will take the example of Draupadi Murmu. When I am teaching president topic, there I will how the Draupadi Murmu won. With numbers I will explain you, you will understand the single transferable vote. Proportional representation by single transferable vote. How this Draupadi became the president. How this mechanism will happen. There will be counting, preferences will be there. Preferences vote will be there. First preference, second preference, third preference. So this also happened by single transferable vote. Seats of British province divided among 3 communities, Muslims, Sikhs and general. Seats of British provinces were being divided into 3, Sikhs, Muslims and general. Representatives of princely states nominated by heads of princely states, no elections there. Princely states 93 members, no elections. They are only the nominated members of princely states. Constituent Assembly elections, Indian National Congress got 208 seats, Muslim League got 73 seats, 15 small groups and independents, 93 vacant seats. Why? Because princely states didn't join. Princely states didn't join. Why? Because princely states were demanding for separate. So princely state didn't join. So 296, the elections happened for 296. 206, 208 plus 73, how much? 281. 281 plus 15, how much? 296. So 296 is British provinces. 93 didn't participate. Why? Because they are against Constituent Assembly. Why? Because they want their own Constituent Assembly. Why? Because they want their own constitution. So completely the body consists of 389, 296 of British provinces and 93 of princely states. Working of the Assembly. Constituent Assembly first meeting happened December 9th, 1946. Only 211 members attended as Muslim League boycotted the meeting demanding Pakistan. Sachidananda Sinha, temporary president of Constituent Assembly. Rajendra Prasad, the president. Mukherjee and Krishnamachari, vice president of the first Constituent Assembly. Some facts. Objective resolution. So this objective resolution is important. Why? Because I want to explain you the meanings. What is justice? What is liberty? What is equality? These meanings have, UPSC is asking the meanings. Liberty means what? Equality means what? Justice means what? We think justice is equal treatment. But for UPSC, justice is equal treatment, something more also. So this term's meanings we will discuss tomorrow in detail. Justice from where? Liberty from where? Fraternity from where? So tomorrow we will discuss about objective resolutions, changes by the Independence Act, other functions performed, major committees of Constituent Assembly, drafting committee, enactment of the Constitution, enforcement of the Constitution, criticism of the Constituent Assembly, and then the most important unit, salient provisions of Constitution. If you listen properly salient provisions of the Constitution, you can answer one answer in your mains, 2-3 questions in prelims. If you understand the terms, meanings, you go through the previous, we will be providing you the booklets of prelims, topic wise booklet, we will, printed copies we will be providing, topic wise previous year's questions of prelims. You notice it from last 4-5 years, terms are focused more, and negative marking is also because of the terms. Okay. Why Government of India Act of 1935? Why Government of India Act of 1935 is called as bulwark of Indian Constitution. It's called as bulwark of Indian Constitution. Means major chunk of Indian Constitution is borrowed from where? 1935 Government of India. Question mark. Explain. Means what are the provisions which are still? Federation is still present. Public Service Commission is still present. RBI is still present. Federal Court is still present. Bicameral House is present in provinces as well as center. Parliamentary form of government present in 1935 Government of India, present in today's government, today's constitution. Because of all these versions, we are telling that Government of India Act is bulwark of today's Indian Constitution. Why? Because most of the provisions we borrowed from 1935. Thank you.